Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the fourth and last episode of Open Talks series on ChatGPT. This last episode is titled "Moving Forward with ChatGPT," and I am Luisa Elisan from the Faculty of Information and Communication Studies as your host for today's episode. This episode is brought to you by the Center for Open and Digital Teaching and Learning in collaboration with the Faculty of Information and Communication Studies. In the last episode, UPOU students shared their knowledge, experiences, and thoughts about ChatGPT. Specifically, they pointed out that ChatGPT is a collaborator tool and a virtual study buddy. However, one of the resource speakers in that episode said that safeguards must be used or must be put in place, especially when young children are using ChatGPT, as ChatGPT can affect the development of one's higher order thinking skills. There were also questions on biases, alignment, and accuracy of the content of the ChatGPT. The recording of that particular episode, as well as the last two previous episodes on ChatGPT, are still available online. And you can still watch those episodes through the online links that is now shown on screen. And do take a screenshot of these links. For this fourth and final episode, we will ask our guest resource persons who are academic administrators and faculty members themselves on how educational institutions can move forward in using or applying ChatGPT and other AI tools in education. So to our viewers, if you have questions, comments that you want to share in this program, please post those in the chat boxes of the three live streaming sites where our Open Talk is now live streaming, like the UPOU Network's Facebook page, the UPOU Network's website, and the UPOU Network's YouTube channel. And for those of you who are on this site or are on site, we also encourage you to participate in the discussion. So don't be shy, share your thoughts, your opinions, and your questions. To moderate this episode's discussion is Assistant Professor Mary Angelique Crisanto from the Faculty of Information and Communication Studies. She is the Program Chair of the Diploma in Computer Science program and currently the Director of the UPOU Quality Assurance Office. Good afternoon, Ma'am Mari.
Good afternoon, Ma'am Lisa, and good afternoon to all of our online viewers and to those who are here with us here right now on site at the UPOU Sandbox. Welcome to our fourth episode of Open Talk about ChatGPT and AI. So to answer all the questions that Ma'am Lisa had mentioned earlier, we have invited our UPOU officials as our panel for today. So our first speaker is none other than our Chancellor, the Chancellor of UPOU, Dr. Melinda Bandalaria. Welcome, ma'am, to our Open Talk episode.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mary. Thanks to our Open Talk organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts about AI and ChatGPT specifically. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And right now, I'm introducing those who are currently on site. So our next speaker is Assistant Professor Charis Reyes, the Dean of the Faculty of Education. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you, Mary, at magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Thank you.
Hapon. Okay, so we also have our online panelists with us. So we have our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs here at UPOU, Dr. Primor Garcia. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. And lastly, our fourth speaker is Dr. Jago Maranan, the Dean of the Faculty of Information and Communication Studies, joining us from Paris, France. Good morning, Dr. Maranan.
Good morning. Apologies, my connection is a bit unstable dito sa Paris, but good morning.
Okay, we'll see how we can go about it
Yeah.
later on. So thank you for joining us. Thank you all. So for our open talk, we only have 1 hour. I know we would all like to share a lot, but since we have limited time and we are eager to know how we can move forward with ChatGPT and AI, let's get started. Okay, so again, welcome to our panelists, both on site and online. We have a couple of questions, and I'll be asking each one of you some Miss Universe questions regarding ChatGPT and AI. So the first question is, how should higher education respond to the rise of AI at present? So we will start with those who are with us on site, and I'd like to ask Din Cha.
Thank you, Mary. My perspective on the developments with regard to AI is that we should be, as a university and as a faculty, as a member of the Faculty of Education, we should be developing policies that would respond to AI and educational technologies in general, not individually. So for example, ngayon, we're dealing with ChatGPT, but we know if we want to make sustainable actions on anything with regard to educational technologies, advancements and developments, you have to look at it on a broader perspective. When I was invited to participate in this discussion, I was a little bit hesitant because my views here are, speaking as a Dean of the Faculty of Education, is that ChatGPT is just one of the many issues that we have in the country. While we are here discussing ChatGPT, millions of other Filipino students are not able to even access technology. So when I was really asked, I was like, should I be the appropriate person to join the discussion? Because ChatGPT is just one. Are we even into blended learning or online learning after what the pandemic has done for the country and for the educational system? Mas nandun ako ngayon, but I hope that I'll be able to contribute on other aspects of this conversation. Pero yun, siguro we should, as a university and as a faculty, develop policies in terms of all of this in a broader perspective rather than on individual tools.
Yes, I agree, Dean Cha. Indeed, we should look at it from a broader perspective. Thank you for that. Chancellor Mel.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you, Dean Cha, for starting that conversation about policies. In fact, that's one of the things that we should be looking into as we respond to this rise of AI. And in fact, even before, it's not something that is new to us, especially for us at UPOU. We've been talking about artificial intelligence before and how we can really use it, especially in our context as a fully online university. So for me, just like any other technologies, in fact, we are mandated to lead in the use of modern technologies so that we can really offer quality education, inclusive and accessible education. And I think AI is something that we can use so that we can better perform our mandate. So, of course, there are so many things that we need to look into, but as a response of higher education institution to the rise of artificial intelligence, I think we should not really embrace it totally, but we should consider using it, look at its advantages and how it can really be a platform for us to perform our tasks even better, and have our quality education available to many. But at the same time, be aware, be familiar, know about the disadvantages and the things that we should be concerned about when we are using artificial intelligence. There are many issues associated with the use of artificial intelligence, and as we continue to be familiar with it, as we with our decision, for me as an administrator, I think we should be using it. But as we familiarize ourselves on how this tool can help us, we should also know what are the issues and concerns associated with the use of artificial intelligence in general. So for now, that's my perspective on how higher education should respond to this rise of artificial intelligence, especially in the context of education. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Mel. Indeed, knowledge is power. Tama po ba?
Exactly.
Okay. And so we would like to direct this question to our online panel as well. Speaking of information and knowledge, may we ask Dean Diego from FICS for your
Yeah,
thoughts?
sige. Thanks. Like din siya, hindi rin ako sigurado kung paano yung maging response ko sa question na to because I haven't really, to be honest about it, I haven't really seriously thought about administratively what this would change in terms of how we do things, how we run our educational programs at the university. I mean, a few things come to mind. We need to eventually start integrating AI-assisted assessment tools in the platforms that we use. And that costs money, probably. That will take some time to get everyone on board in the whole process of using these tools and part of even figuring out what do these tools look like, how should they function. I mean, that's going to take a lot of time. So it's going to be a massive overhaul if we do decide to do that. Because I'm sure in the previous conversations, open talk episodes, that discussed how AI can be used by students and educators as well. But how to do that systematically and how to scale that up, that's going to be the problem. Especially when you start having courses of 300, 400, 1,000, or if you take a look at some of our MOOCs at like 13,000 students, how do you do that to scale? And in some ways, AI does not fundamentally alter our concerns about educational issues like intellectual honesty, because I mean that's ultimately kind of what we're concerned about, right? It's about, but we've always had students outsourcing academic work. We've always had issues with plagiarism. I mean, obviously not everyone, but some. And so whatever techniques we have been using to guarantee to try to as much quality in the student outputs as we can. I mean, these continue to still hold. So I'm looking at more blending learning as a way to connect the students better, authentic assessments. I mean, all of those parang still hold. And then fundamentally, I think our anxieties also have to do with the fact that if we had better student to teacher ratios, we could serve better as mentors rather than just parang mere evaluators. And so addressing yung fundamental disparities between teacher-student ratios, that's still important and maybe more important now than ever because of the challenges that AI might, propose.
All right. Thank you, Dean Diego. I agree. There are so many more underlying problems that we have to take a look at. And so right now, we'd also like to hear from our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Dr. Primo Garcia, VC Prime.
As somebody who has been using ChatGPT for the past few months now, I can see the benefits
Yes.
that it could give to us as teachers as well as the learners. But I also see technology as something that is not neutral. It is not merely a tool. It is a tool in the sense that we can use it to achieve our own, to attain our own goals. No, we can use it for our own purpose in that sense. But as a technology, AI can also affect the way we behave, the way we gather information, the way we teach, and the way we learn. So universities or higher education in general should engage in AI, meaning this is a reality that is upon us. So what we need to do, I think, is really to engage with it, try to understand its affordances and limitations, and try to find ways by which we could tap on those affordances to enhance our teaching and learning as well as our other academic and non-academic tasks.
Thank you so much, VC Prime. All right. I think that what was shared here right now sa panel, we can pick up so many things from it. And we're also picking up some things regarding the University of the Future, since
Yeah.
we're heading into that. We've had this discourse for the past couple of years. And so right now, I'd like to ask, what would be the place of AI in the University of the Future? And I'd like to ask Chancellor Bandalaria regarding this.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. You're right. We've been talking about the University of the Future, I think, since 2018, 2019, and really trying to concretize what exactly is it. In my latest articulation about the University of the Future, I'm saying that it is now preparing for the future. What we are doing now is basically preparing our students, our graduates for the future. And that's how I look at University of the Future. It means to say this is not something that we will do in the future, but something that we should be doing now. And with this artificial intelligence, I can really say that definitely it has a major role. And it will even, I look at it, okay, let me start by saying, for me, this artificial intelligence is a major disruption for an online university like us, because it will require from us a redesign of our curriculum, a change or a revamp in the way we are doing our teaching, designing our learning activities, and even designing our assessment. There's no way we can do things the way we've been doing before. I mean, even before the AI. I will cite an example. Okay. Of course, this is something that I shared with Director Myra a few days ago. We have this one RA, and our FICS ad system will allow our students to choose the advisor and the panel members. Okay, so this RA, I received the email from the ad system saying you've been selected as the advisor as the chair of this student who happens to be our RA also here at QPOU. So I sent the email to that person, my RA, asking her, "Are you really sure that you want me to be your advisor?" And her response was, "Yes, ma'am, because I asked ChatGPT about it." See, for me, it's not really the response, but it is how our students use ChatGPT, and there's no way we can control it. There's no way we can legislate, don't use it. There's no way you can say, we will prevent, we will not allow you to use it, otherwise we will charge you with plagiarism. No way. So we can see that is just one example wherein our students are using, sabi nga ni Sir Prime kanina, ginagamit na niya. Ako ginagamit ko rin. Pagka hindi ko na ma-define, hindi ko na ma-develop yung sentence, yung paragraph, mag-a-ask na rin ako kay ChatGPT, how can you describe this? How can you describe so and so? Sasagot si ChatGPT, mas magaling pa kaysa sa ginawa ko. So, I mean, there's no way we can control it. It's open. It's open. So for me, so sabi nitong estudyante, nitong RA natin, and ma'am, here's the response from ChatGPT. Ang tanong niya, because she wants to do a thesis on MOOCs. And she asked ChatGPT, who is the pioneer of MOOCs in the Philippines? So that's the question. So my name emerged as the response of ChatGPT. And what's so surprising there is that ChatGPT even says, Dr. Melinda Bandalaria is the mother of MOOC in the Philippines. And I said, wow, where did ChatGPT got that term? Because there's no way, I haven't encountered any publication, I didn't use, no one used it, that mother of MOOCs in the Philippines. So I said, there is some sort of what ChatGPT is doing in terms of articulating what it can get from the internet. So from what it can get from the internet, she was able to coin that term. And then I responded, okay, so now I have to ask ChatGPT who the father is. But of course, what I'm trying to say is, look how our students are using it. And probably, I'm sure, there are many other ways by which ChatGPT is being used by our students. So definitely it will be part of the University of the Future, and our mandate in the University of the Future is still the same: delivering quality education, accessible, inclusive, etc., relevant, sustainable. And earlier, we have articulated what ChatGPT can do to us. If you will search the internet, you can also find this article about the 20 ways by which you can use ChatGPT in the classroom. Your teaching assistant, so recently I just received an email, how AI can be used as your teaching assistant to mark assignments of students, even to design personalized learning environment, so that your students will be following a specific track of study designed for that particular student. So there are many ways by which we can use ChatGPT as teachers. And definitely, it will be, or it will perform a major role in the University of the Future as we articulated it. Okay, thank you.
Maraming salamat po mula sa ating Mother of MOOCs.
It's so surprising how ChatGPT came about it. Yeah.
Dean Chow, would you like to add?
Natakot tuloy ako. Kung madubos.
Kung anong lalabas.
So, I will try that later.
Yes.
So actually, I just want to pick up some points from Chancellor's perspectives. She mentioned that our students are using it, we are also using it. I think one of the things that we have to consider is redesigning the way our curricula are being delivered at the moment, considering that these AI tools are also the same tools that we are using as professionals. So there's, as I mentioned earlier, we have to craft policies aligned with this. We have to look at our curriculum and look at which tools will be allowed within the professional area. So we're hoping to develop graduates who will also be using the same thing for their advantage when they go to work, right? I'm not sure if you've already read about cognitive offloading. Isang example nito was a few years back, several decades ago, we used to memorize the multiplication table, right? We begin the development of the skills in mathematics by those tables. Right now, there are several tools to do computational task, right? If we are stuck in the multiplication table, could we send man to the moon, right? So my idea for AI really is that we should accommodate it so that our students could develop broader and bigger learning outcomes. There's a caveat to that. That doesn't mean we will not teach them how to do multiplication table. It's just that they have to master the skills once they master the skills, they can already use AI after that. So ituturo mo pa rin yung skill.
Basic.
Because we also have to develop our students' judgment of the products they do when they cognitively offload, right? So kunwari, kung hindi natin sila tuturuan ng skill, hindi nila malalaman paano i-judge yung quality ng ginawa nila with AI, right? So my view of AI, such as ChatGPT, and other things, is that there's still a need to teach fundamental skills according to the requirements of the curricular programs that we offer. Yun nga lang, we should also consider using other tools so that students will be able to have more time to spend and develop bigger, broader outcomes. So parang multiplication table lang to sending man to the moon, right? If we don't develop that broader skills or higher order thinking skills, then we may be stuck at where we are right now. And unfortunately, sayang yung gifts ng AI.
Thank you, Dincha. I like that word, cognitive offload. Yes. So let us now turn to our online panel, VC Prime. May we hear your thoughts about this?
Yes. I totally agree that AI would change or have a significant effect on the future of universities. I think mas malaking effect niya on other universities that haven't gotten yet into online teaching and learning. But for UPOU, I think the development of this technology is something that we're familiar with. So for the past 25 years, we have seen the the role of the teacher changed, no? I can remember, I think 20 years ago, pinag-uusapan yung ang terminology at the time was sage on the stage versus guide on the side, no? So from a mere source of knowledge, the teacher is not considered as a facilitator of knowledge. So from early on, UPOU has really adopted learner-centered approaches in its teaching and learning. And I think AI, given its affordances, can also play a role in that, in the sense that AI can be used by learners to answer their specific needs and seek information that addresses information gaps at their specific level. No? So in that sense, it becomes more learner-centered. But the thing is, we should be able to determine for ourselves, no, as universities, what is the role of AI, no, in the future of in the teaching and learning processes in the universities in the future. Like for instance, we need to discuss how assessments will be done. How can AI help us to move from too much emphasis on assessment of learning, yung mga usual pen and paper type of assessments, to more authentic type of assessments, no? Kasi kanina binanggit yung isa sa mga limitations of AI is that, or isang problem kasi sa use of AI is that parang it spells the depth of the essay, no? Isa yan sa mga palaging binabanggit yan, usapan yan sa media. But if you look at it, AI can actually be used as a tool for the conduct of more collaborative activities and more authentic types of assessments. Assessments that are more meaningful, no, to our learners. Secondly, AI, specifically to mga language model type of AI, can help us address some of the cognitive needs of our learners. No? Yung mga hindi lang maintindihan, just like what Ma'am Mel has mentioned a while ago, it is very good in trying to define, to describe things, give you the features, simplify complex ideas. But as Dinsha has mentioned, at the end of the day, it still depends on the user, no, whether in terms of evaluating, no, the validity of the information being generated by AI. Pero this has implication on how we do our teaching learning, specifically in UPOU. Kasi traditionally, this teaching support is being performed by tutors. But given the AI and its role in providing such additional information in which the learner is having difficulty understanding, what would be the role of tutors in that scenario? And then Dinsha also mentioned about personalized, about curricula, no? I think with AI, no, especially with big data coupled with AI, it can also help us create a more personalized learning environment for our students. So this has implications on the way we design our curricula, our teaching strategies, the way we deliver learner support, and the way we conduct our assessments.
Thank you, VC Prime. So feeling ko baka sa next na course kay ko, isusulat ko na. For your questions, ask ChatGPT.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So Dean Diego, may we also hear from you?
You know, when ChatGPT 3, I think it was 3.5 came out, when it went public, I turned to Rain. I wrote to Rain, sabi ko, Rain, AI education, this is going to be your I think this should be your focus for this year. I think parang of all the programs we run at FICS, this is the highest priority. Parang superseding everything else. At least for this year, to just parang getting started, to make sure that you know, we hit the ground running. And you know, buti na lang, he started organizing the conference that's coming up. By the way, you know, meron po tayong conference coming up this. Kailan ba ang IZ? August, yeah. So sa mga nanonood dyan, please check out UPOU's websites for ICODEL, our biannual conference on open distance e-learning, with a special side conference on education and AI. as well as another conference, ASEANALE. Yeah, so cognitive offloading is a really good way to think about what AI is and how it relates to older technologies. And if you think back, even if you look even more broadly the whole thing, and you think about this in terms of distributed cognition, I mean, we have been using tools as part of our cognitive systems for a very, very long time. I mean, you think about the abacus as part of a distributed cognitive system. And it does point to parang much more of this multi-agent view of the future of how consciousness and cognition and creative processing will work. But that's another thing. Although I said that AI would not fundamentally alter our concerns about intellectual honesty, it does represent as a breaking change in many other ways, as my colleagues have suggested. And I wanted to pick up on what Dean Shah talked about in terms of fundamental skills. And you gave us an example, multiplication tables. And I think young people need to understand new kinds of fundamental skills, certain principles that underlie all of these new technologies that they'll be learning. So for example, I think very young students should know the basic principles of neural networks, of generative and emergent systems. So for example, and this is kind of, ito yung nilalako ko everywhere I go and talk, I think Conway's Game of Life should be required at a very young age. If you don't know what it is, go look it up. It is fascinating. And I'm thinking grade 2 or grade 3. Thinking about complex and dynamic emergent systems and creating grade school curricula for so that when students step into high school educational systems, they understand the fundamentals of the technology that we're using. Because that's the danger, is if we are creating a new breed of young students and that they don't understand the fundamental principles of the tools that they're using, it just seems like magic. And that's the problem. When things begin to seem like magic when they're not, there's a problem. Second, I think we probably need to move up higher. I know that's not the term we're supposed to use in Bloom's taxonomy, right? Yeah, so skills like recalling and listing, all of that, that's not going to be, that's CCO na yan. So really need to think in terms of more of comparative evaluations, creation, and all that, and getting people to work together collaboratively to create things. I think that's going to be, much more of what we need to train. And anyway, this is how the real world generally works. So hanggang dun lang ang notes ko sa ngayon.
Yes.
Sorry, Mari, if I can make a comment on Dean Diego's remarks. The Bloom's taxonomy, there's a reason why there's a lower order thinking skills before you go to the higher order thinking skills. And I'm not totally disagreeing with that. Remembering and recalling will just be an easy task. Actually, that's one of the arguments in the disadvantages of AI, quote unquote, right? Is that we're making the smaller the smaller task look like easy and as in madali mo na siyang magagawa. In contrast, actually lalong nagiging mahirap gawin yung mga short-term memory type of tasks.
Yeah, true. That's true. That's true.
So instead of looking at it that it will become easier, I think it becomes more challenging now to make them develop these smaller things.
Because they're not exercising the skills themselves.
Exactly. So which means it's not something that AI will help us address. It's actually one of the challenges that AI is posing us. It's a threat to these lower order thinking skills, because right now, based on our conversation, we're looking at developing higher order thinking skills, collaborative work. But what about the skills that are more minor but more fundamental? Is our students will not be able to develop better judgments of the product that they do if they forget about the fundamental skills. So ako bilang, sorry Dean Diego, but my argument is that while we are gearing towards these bigger or higher order thinking skills, we should also try to incorporate the development of these fundamental skills, retain them. But once they master these skills, they move up to the next level. So hindi sila nawawala dun sa scenario. They are actually becoming more integral part of the
Yeah.
scenario. How we do that
Yeah.
and how we assess that, that's a challenge for
Yeah.
us teachers and designers.
Okay, can I say
Yes, ma'am. Go
something
ahead.
about the Bloom's taxonomy? Okay,
Go ahead.
I've been thinking about it since this emergence, so to speak, late last year, November last year, and then early this year, when I was designing the learning activities for the second semester, specifically for the second semester courses, and I said, how can I design the learning activities and even assessment in such a way that I will not worry so much that my students would be using ChatGPT. Okay, so I said probably one approach is to flip Bloom's taxonomy, so that if ChatGPT gave them something, okay, they will ask ChatGPT, it will give them something, and then for them to explain. To explain how come ChatGPT gave you that answer, etc. So I'm hoping that through that way, from the higher order thinking, naka-flip siyang ganun, nandun yung creation, nandito yung basic, they will be able to understand and know the basic principles associated with the creation, which is the higher order thinking skills. So that's my first approach. When we all know we've been anchored with Bloom's taxonomy every time we design our assessment, our learning activities, even our course objectives or learning outcomes. So we're always anchored on that. So that's one strategy that I did. And also to use what ChatGPT is giving as a response to the questions of my students to also harness critical thinking. Something like we all know that not all answers from ChatGPT is correct. I mean, chances are it will give you a wrong answer, okay? And take note that they themselves said that ChatGPT itself said, I'm updated up to 2021. So what happened in 2022, 2023? So probably we're more updated when it comes to our field, And that is also something that we want our students to have, a more updated, recent awareness of the recent advancements in the field that they are studying. So what about using ChatGPT as a platform to develop critical thinking for them to assess, does the answer that ChatGPT gives is correct? So something like that, they will assess what ChatGPT is giving to them as a response to their questions. And then they should also remember that they should be asking the right questions so the ChatGPT will give them the correct answer. So those things, I guess, the basic principles that we learned when we do the basic instructional design, learning design for our courses will still apply, but probably in a different way. So for me, that's what I did. I flipped Bloom and started with a higher order thinking skills, and then for them to explain and be familiar with the associated fundamental skills. Yeah.
Thank you, Chancellor Mel. Dean Jago, is there anything you'd like to add or say? Or are you good?
Yeah, no. That's fine for now.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I can also see from this conversation that indeed, speaking of the university of the future, which is now, AI is here for good, and we just need to do a lot of redesigning and reconfiguration so that it will indeed have its place here.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, sige, Mary,
Yes.
can I just thinking about iniisip ko rin si Dr. Jean Saludates, and she and I have this shared interest in multi-agent systems. And I don't know how you feel about post-humanism, but it's also entirely possible that as we move forward in the future, and because we've always been doing this anyway, is that we've never really been assessing just the human. You take a look at, for example, the field of painting. When you look at someone who creates a work of art, you don't assess parang what's going on in their mind. You assess the way they wield tools, the way they wield colors. And so we've always been assessing humans alongside the tools that they use and how well they use them. And so in the future, parang, what if we think about whenever we make assessments, it's making assessments of students with their tools. And maybe, I mean, to be entirely speculative about this, andito na rin tayo, what if we're really just part of a longer process of giving birth to a new kind of intelligence? And we're all of humanity. We've only been here for what, several thousand years, right? I mean, we're just the next stage towards something. It's not an evolution towards something. It's not like it's towards something, but it's just we're changing into something. We don't have the luxury to think about this every day, right? But I think para having this in the back of our mind is interesting. So right now I'm in Paris for the International Society of Electronic Arts Conference. And I mean, the program is really interesting because there's a lot of post-human work going on right now. Attempts to communicate with fungi, to create symbiotic relationships with bacteria and plant matter, and try to and so there's, at least in the West, in a lot of the new media art stuff that's going on in the West, there's this pattern trying to use new technologies, new tools, AI, sensors, as a way to engage in new ways with the natural environment, with the world around us. And so maybe in terms of how we use AI at UPOU, how can we use it to understand the world in a totally different way, in ways that we have not thought about before, that go beyond the limits of our cognitive processing and our senses. Ayon, I just throwing it out there as a bomb.
Wow. Okay.
It's so profound.
It's so profound. I think Nincha would like to say something.
I agree with Din Diego that we should be able to accommodate cognitive exercises such as this. Kasi actually, you are also correct that, at least as far as I know, we are looking at the human experience alongside the tools that they are using. At least in my experience, yun yung nakikita ko sa ngayon. Pero tama si Din Diego in that we should be, maybe AI would allow us the cognitive capacity once the other cognitive load has been offloaded. If AI would be able to do that portion of the work for us. Now, in terms of our students, it would be challenging for us to assess what our students can now do. I think we've been talking a lot about authentic assessment and how we can revise the assessment strategies that we are doing for, at least for UPOU programs, given that AI is in the scenario. I mean, it's been there ever since, like in using Word, nandiyan na yan, tinutulungan na tayo on how to correct our grammar, but now that it's becoming more accessible for our students, how do we operationalize all of these huge concepts? I think it's an important aspect of us as a university to be able to help our FICs, our other stakeholders in joining them in the conversation. Kasi ang question talaga ng teachers sa ngayon, paano nga ba talaga? I go back to my classroom, anong gagawin ko? Diba? You've been talking about authentic assessment and all, pero what does it mean for us now and in the age of artificial intelligence? What does that really mean?
Can I respond to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking, I've always wanted to have someone audit my course, but before AI was causing as much anxiety as it is now, I was really wanting an instructional designer to come in and look at my course and go, okay, let's take a look what you've done. So what you did here, that was good. This was not so good. This is bad. You could tweak it that way. Maybe we could have something like that, pa rin. And on top of that, this would also be an AI an education specialist and go, oh, you know what? For this activity, have you thought about doing it this way, this way? So having some kind of audit for selected courses might be interesting. See, VC Prime has his hand raised.
VC Prime.
Dadagdag ko lang yung role ng AI within the context of the wider society, because we've been focusing on the teaching and learning implications of AI. But the reality is AI is being adopted in all sectors of the society. Hence, one of the reasons why it's being pushed in educational sector is that our students need to be prepared, for the use of AI once they leave the university and go and find jobs. Pero there are also predictions about the negative effects of AI on employment, the death of certain types of jobs. It would lead to the rise of a different set of jobs. Pero alam naman natin na not everybody has the resources, the ability to be able to adapt or to get into those forms of employment or sectors. And as I've said, any technology, AI included, no, they exist within a system of practices. This system of practices in our society is what sustains them. No? The way we do assessment, of course, we're thinking about ang assessment natin will be affected by AI. But we also think of the role of assessment, certification, evaluation, accreditation within the larger context of society. How will industry move from here on, no, in terms of assessing the skills of their future employees, no? How will our regulatory agencies now certify the competencies of professionals? Of course, universities need to have a say on this, no? Kasi hindi lang tayo teaching and learning institutions. We conduct research, we advocate for certain policies, we provide perspectives that have been traditionally marginalized, no? We speak for sectors that do not have a voice, no, in the larger public discourse. So this is another role of university in the, I would say, age of AI, no? The AI age, or what Dean Maranan has said as yung post-human era or scenario.
Can I add something? Because BC Prime mentioned something about, of course, there will be jobs that will no longer exist because of AI. But at the same time, we know that there will also be new jobs that will be created. BC Prime also mentioned something that, but of course, not everyone has the capacity to undergo capability building, etc., so that they will be ready for that kind of future in terms of work. So I think that is one aspect that we should focus on as a university, and trying to look at these skills that might be needed in the future world of work, and try to see how we universities, especially us as a fully online university, open university, be able to respond and provide that kind of learning opportunities to these different types of learners. So slowly, I think we're also able to concretize some additional roles for us, And I hope this is something that we can also consider as we continue to develop BC Prime, our roadmap to micro-credentialing and all these things, taking into consideration all these developments in the field of in artificial intelligence, as well as other technologies, because that exactly is what the future will be. As mentioned by BC Prime, it's not just in education, but it is in almost about everything in our daily lives. So we have to be prepared for that, and we have to be trained for that.
Okay. Napaka thought-provoking po ng discussion natin ngayon. Yeah, so kanina po, Ma'am Mel was able to mention, and Dean Cha also, about how we can, or the question kung paano nga ba natin talaga gagawin ito, yung paggamit ng AI in our classes, in our institutions. And I think that really is one of the questions that many of our viewers are asking na, okay, what now? What will I do for my university? So if you can share what institutional preparations should be done in case the higher education institutions watching right now decides to integrate AI into their education.
Would you like me to answer
Yes,
that?
ma'am,
Okay.
go.
Okay. If you will recall, and I think as early as December or January, with this discussion about ChatGPT, I already requested our MC, let's have an open talk series on ChatGPT. January pa lang, December, January, sinabi ko na yan. And for me, that's the first step for us to create that awareness. What exactly is this all about? And I think this is the 4th episode on ChatGPT. We have discussed what exactly it is, knowing what it is, the advantages, disadvantages, even the dark side, And now we're looking at we're going to approach it as a university. So that's one, increasing the awareness of all the stakeholders, including the parents of our students, so that they would know, they would understand. Next, we have to take a look at our policies. When we say plagiarism, in this age of artificial intelligence, in this age of ChatGPT, how do we redefine, how do we articulate plagiarism? If my student submits to me a ChatGPT generated assignment, is that plagiarism? So probably we need to rethink all those things. Also, we need to train our teachers. We need to train our teachers. How can you make use of this particular tool or platform so that it can be advantageous to us, especially for us open universities. Of course, there may be associated technologies to it. For now, probably not so much. We can do it using existing technologies that we have. So I guess awareness, policies, training, etc., on the use of it and how we can really integrate it to how we teach and how our students learn are the first three steps that we should look as a university. So three for me.
3 steps.
Yeah.
Okay, noted on those, ma'am. Dean Cha.
Feeling ko,
Tinanong niya si
Tinanong niya si
ChatGPT.
hindi naman po. Pero feeling ko, we really need to look at our curricula and re-articulate our learning outcomes. Our curricula have to be sustainable given the educational technologies that we are already enjoying at the moment. Pero yung curriculum natin, baka nandun pa sa 1970s or when educational system had been formalized at first. So, kailangan nating tingnan yung curriculum. Ano ba yung hinihingi natin for our students to accomplish? If computers are now able to accomplish the work that we expected our students to do, then what other things can we expect out of them? If we are pursuing cognitive offloading in the with the assistance of artificial intelligence, then what do students do with the space that has been vacated, quote unquote, vacated with the cognitive offloading? So, tingnan natin yung curriculum. We have to specify learning outcomes with all of these tools in mind. Kasi alam naman natin whether or not we imply to our students or we explicitly give them instruction to use or not to use ChatGPT. If they have the option and if they have the access to it, then they will use it for their own good, based sa kanilang judgment of their own good. That's one. The second aspect that I would prefer na gawin natin sa ating curricula is that we include judgment evaluation as part of our learning outcomes. We help our students develop the ability to judge their own products when they use these tools. Kasi tinuturuan natin, for example, let's go very basic pagdating sa chem, tuturuan mo sila ng mole concept, or tuturuan mo sila ng atomic model. ChatGPT could very clearly and efficiently and accurately describe these models of atom. But I don't think, or I'm not sure if we are teaching them how did first scientists develop these models, what were the considerations, how are these models valid up to this time, what are these things that help us judge whether these models are still valid at this point. Yung mga ganong klase ng decision points, I think kailangan nating simulan, or kung hindi pa natin tinuturo, ito siguro yung gusto kong i-promote sa mga curriculum natin. We help our students develop the capacity to judge their own work and their own judgment. Parang ganun.
Yes, thanks, Dean Cha. Indeed, let's go back to our curricula. Okay. And from Dean Jago, what would be your advice for institutions?
Marami ng sa mga nabanggit, cover what I had in mind. I think it might be interesting to map out as well what current AI technologies are not that good at. We know that AI can still hallucinate, so quote unquote. That's not the preferred term these days. That's another term that they use. And there are certain things that AI is not still not good at. Although the things that it can be good at is surprising. So, there was a paper that I was reading where if you take two ChatGPT 4 agents and you get them to talk to each other, they actually improve their answers. So, even the idea of getting your students to reflect on what the AI generated responses, it may not work because the AI may create a persuasive analysis of its own mistakes. But first, yeah, mapping out what it isn't a good at. Might be also interesting to systematically review, audit what students and teachers are doing right now. And maybe it turns out that they're using ChatGPT and AI in ways that we didn't anticipate, that's not published anywhere. And I think at some point we may need to make as I'm talking from a UPOU standpoint, from an institutional standpoint, parang considering this as a breaking change, whether or not it is a breaking change, to the extent that it might fundamentally affect our 2022 to 2025 strat plan, strategic vision, like to actually put that in as one of the goals. So parang creating that kind of institutional acknowledgement of what it is to set the tone, because I feel like at some point we'll probably have to all sit down for like 2 weeks and then parang just do this massive overview of things and figure, okay, so here's
Really
this,
overhaul.
and then I'm a CBC Prime, and because it's in multiple layers. There's the overall industry level, but okay, so how is AI affecting industry, and what does this mean in terms of kind of the program learning outcomes that we need to be developing, and then what does this mean in terms of course system, what it means in terms of assessment. So yeah, so there's parang all of these layers, and mapping out what those layers are. That's going to be part of this parang active navel gazing that we have to do.
Thank you, Dean Jago. I'm preparing myself for that overhaul.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's part of
Yes, the BCS, the MIS, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ay, ang daming gagawin. Yes, let us hear from VC Prime.
Marami nang na-share, no? But I would just like to siguro frame my answer from the point of view of other viewers, no? Yung mga viewers natin from other universities. Ay, sorry. Naka-off pala yung video. Okay. So as I was saying, no, I think my answer would also be for our viewers who come from other universities. So basically, I think we need to encourage, no, as administrators, we need to encourage our faculty members to tinker with the technology, because it's only in the actual use of the technology will you be able to find its affordances as well as limitations, as well as the other issues, may they be ethical, legal, or whatever issues that are associated with that technology. Secondly, we have to think how it can be tapped to serve our purpose, our mission, our vision. Right now, yung ChatGPT per se has generated a lot of attention from the media. There are a lot of fears, there are a lot of concerns, aside from the fact na meron ding excitement being expressed over the technology. So, while we do encourage our faculty members, to tinker with it and try to find ways to adopt it for their own courses, for it to be sustainable and for the benefits to be maximized, really, it has to be an institutional effort. As mentioned by my colleagues here, there couldn't be any stakeholder support, like from the teachers, the students, especially the parents then, the parents also have a say, like, ano na naman yan, hindi na pala nagtuturo yung teacher, yung ChatGPT pala nagtuturo sa estudyante ko, bakit tayo nagbabayad ng tuition fee? These are real concerns, for educational institutions. So we need to find how it can be tapped specifically within their own context, so that's very important. And of course, there could be pilot, some courses can be piloted and lessons can be learned. And from there, policies and guidelines can be developed. Training for students as well as for teachers can be developed based on the lessons learned from those pilot projects or initiatives.
Can I add on what, I know we're running out of time. Dean Diego, if you remember, when we first experimented with ChatGPT, we asked ChatGPT about the Montreal School of Communication. and it gave us a wrong answer. I mean, our expert on the Montreal School of Communication was with us at the time, Dr. Jean Saludades, and she said, no, that's not correct. Ask ChatGPT now, and it will give you the correct answer. So it is fast developing. It's really gathering so much information, and it's working very fast. You know, I tried again. I tried asking the same question, and it now gave the correct answer, describing what the Montreal School of Communication is. Okay, that's one. So it's fast developing and giving you the correct response. Second, I don't know that because BC Prime mentioned about the legal and ethical implications. Okay, it is a confession. Okay, I prepared 2 presentations for May 25. So magkasabay. Sabi ko, paano ko ba i-prepare lahat? Ang deadline na pagsasubmit ng presentation was last Friday. 2 presentations and I was on travel. I think half of my presentation, should I feel guilty about it? Okay, half of the presentation was generated through ChatGPT. I asked, because these are the things that I want to say in my presentation. So I asked ChatGPT, how can I say it? What are the key elements that I should mention? So ChatGPT gave me the answer, and it formed almost 50% of the presentation that I did for the 2 conferences that I will be speaking on May 25. Same day, both in the morning, etc. The thing is, they asked me to speak in that conference because they want me to share what I know. They want me to share my expertise, my viewpoints, etc. And here I am asking ChatGPT about it. Should I feel guilty about it? That it's ChatGPT talking to them and not me. And I just convinced myself in saying, but before I included that in my presentation, I looked at it and tried to see whether it is the same thing that I will be that I really want to say in my talk in that conference. So something like that. So in that experience, I said, okay, ChatGPT made my work easier, faster, and I was able to meet my deadline in terms of submitting my presentation to those conferences. So those things. There are things that we should also settle in ourselves in terms of using this platform, especially when it comes to really sharing your expertise, etc. Is it you or is it ChatGPT sharing the expertise? So those things. And I think more of that we will be experiencing and coming face to face with all those questions as we continue to use this particular tool as we continue to do our work here at the university.
Thank you, Chancellor Mel and BC Prime. So many things for us universities to take note of. And right now, before we move to the final set of questions, we also have some questions and we're opening the floor for questions from our audience. We are actually given a 15-minute extension dahil napaka-heated ng ating discussion dito kasing init ng panahon. There's a question here sent in the chat. It was mentioned that would a teacher accuse a student of plagiarism when he or she used AI to write his or her assignment? But how would you label students who use ChatGPT and turned in the same answers to one assignment? Gusto po bang sumagot nun? So plagiarism, it could be plagiarism if the students use it to turn in their assignment. But what if sabihin natin may 5 estudyante, they use ChatGPT and it turned in the same answer to one assignment.
Para-pareho sila ng sagot.
Oo.
Actually, yun nga yung sinasabi ko. That is really possible. And in fact, something that we really should expect. Especially if there's no strict policy, and I don't think it will be fruitful to really have a policy. Don't use ChatGPT. There's no way we will be able to do that. So for me, in anticipation of that possibility, I redesign my learning activities such that it's not the essay type. It's not the essay type. I know my students will resort to that because they will have to do research when they do their assignment. So what I did was, in my assignment, learning activity, one learning activity is that, okay, you will have to do a report on this particular topic. Okay. So, and your report should not be in essay format. It's not an essay format. You have to articulate it. You have to articulate. You have to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. You have to do a video recording for your report. So even if it is ChatGPT generated, the response, the way they will be able to articulate it through that video presentation reporting in my class, then somehow, I'm hoping that in a way they will be able to learn something and not just say that this is what, definitely there will be similarities, but in the way they will articulate it and pick up the most salient points in their report, hopefully that will be different and depending on their context, because that's the question that I always ask them. In your context, how will you apply this particular topic or lesson, etc.? So hopefully there will still be differences.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you po, Ma'am Mel. Would anyone else like to add to that? Okay. Okay. All right. We have people here in the audience. We have a live studio audience actually. Baka may questions kayo regarding ChatGPT in our institutions.
Ayoko magtanong si Doc Baggy. Baka hindi ko masagot.
Meron ba? Okay lang po ba gamitin namin sa mga trabaho namin ang ChatGPT, gano'n?
Hindi, yeah, why not? I mean, si Din Diego, if I may share what you and Rob did when we were in Clark. You were trying to finish a proposal. I think it was Rob who shared that to me when we were in New Clark City. And then because it was so late na nung gabi na they're trying to finish it. And then hindi na nila maipaliwanag yung something like a part of the proposal, and they asked ChatGPT about it. And binigay ng ChatGPT yung sagot at yun yung gave them the idea on how they will be able to complete that particular part of the proposal. So I guess we can. But then again, due diligence should still be exercised, because the moment we do our work, it is also expected that exert tayo ng human element in terms of vetting whether it is correct or not. Again, we have to take note that ChatGPT gets information from all over, and we don't even know whether the information is correct or not. So we have to take note of that, and that is why I emphasize that training, orientation, etc., should be among the first steps that we need to do if we intend to really utilize it as part of our work, as part of how we are teaching, as part of the student submission, etc. So for me, yes, why not? Why not? Even as teachers, we're asking ChatGPT to grade the grade assignments of our students, teaching assistants. But I think what we should be worried about, BC Prime, is what you have mentioned earlier na, so ano nang gagawin ng mga tutors natin? Probably in terms of moderating online discussion, kung meron ka ng bot na makikipag-usap sa sa estudyante mo, baka even that particular work hindi na kailangan gawin ng teacher or ng tutor, yung moderating online discussion. If we are talking, so iibahin na rin natin yung learner-learner interaction natin, tsaka learner-teacher interaction. Learner-bot interaction na ngayon na ilalagay natin, because personalized design na yung mga gagawin. So there are things. I think when we look at the future of education, I think that's something that we also have to consider. It will be exciting, it will be innovative, but at the same time, we have to be creative and still exercise what we're trained for in terms of giving due diligence and our input, so that we can really make these things intelligent things, ganon. I mean, may trabaho pa rin tayo, magiging iba nga lang ang configuration. Yeah.
Thank you po. Tama po yan. Okay, and I guess if there are no questions from our audience, we are nearing the end. And before I turn over the floor to Ma'am Lisa, we'd just like to hear some final words about ChatGPT and AI in education from our panel. So we'll start with our online panel, VC Garcia, then Dean Diego, then Dean Cha, and then Chancellor Mel. Take it away, sir.
As I've mentioned a while ago, ChatGPT or AI is here. Actually, matagal na rin naman siya, and we've been talking about the use of AI and big data, not only for teaching and learning, but also for learner support services. So this is not something na talagang bago, no? The thing is, right now the technologies has evolved, no, to such a level that it is raising some concerns, no, particularly from some sectors in universities, in the education sector. But as I've said, this is something that we need to contend with. We have to engage with it. um, we need to determine for ourselves how it will fit, no, with our current practices, or how it diverges from our current practices, and how are we going to address the gaps, no. We need to be able to determine for ourselves the affordances as well as the limitations. It may address our cognitive needs, but does it address the other needs of learners, like emotive needs, no? uh, what is the role of AI in relation to other technologies that we've been using? Usually naman, 'di ba, in the past, yung with the advent of a new technology, hindi naman totally na nawawala yung mga previous technologies. The role of the other technologies diminished, but they're still there. So how do we combine them to maximize their effective use? And then we also have to think about how to train our students on the effective and responsible use of the technology, as well as yung how to train our teachers in incorporating such technologies for effective instruction. All of these have implications on the hiring of teachers, the preparation of our teachers, the delivery of our learner support systems, no, and the way we conduct our teaching and learning. So it's going to be a continuing conversation, I believe.
Thank you, VC Prime. Dean Diego?
I don't really have much more to say. Siguro one last, it's CVC from summarized it better than I could. But maybe something to just also think about is, any large language learning model, any AI is only as good as its corpus. And so maybe we have to think about, if we want to escape or find new ways to deal with AI, we think about, okay, so what kind of corpora are these AI working with? And shouldn't we be generating parang new areas of knowledge na is be kind of slightly beyond the scope then of these? And so thinking about creating new bodies of knowledge that escape yung reaches ng current ChatGPT technologies. I think that's something to keep in the back of our minds as well.
Thank you, Dean Diego. Dean Cha.
As I mentioned earlier, I was just thinking about, when we are discussing about artificial intelligence in general, not just ChatGPT, are we thinking about the entirety of the educational system in the Philippines? Because to be honest, right now, after the pandemic happened, how much of the educational system is really going forward in terms of educational technologies or the integration of technology in education? AI is just one aspect of it. Whether or not the basic education system, the majority of the higher education institutions would go towards blended or online mode, nandun pa rin ako sa question na yun. I'm not ignoring the benefits of AI. I'm just considering the context of the Philippines in the broader aspect of educational technology and the quickly developing technologies around us. So ang question ko sa sarili ko lagi ay, paano ko sila dadalahin doon sa stage na yun when the gap is wide at the moment? As the Dean of the Faculty of Education, nandun ako sa question na yun, is how to bring them there, not necessarily for AI, but to encourage everyone to embrace the affordances of online learning. This was just 3 years ago, nung nag-start ako ng PhD, nung sinabi ko, nung po nag-undergrad ako, board and talk kami, hindi ito magets ng mga supervisors ko. When I left the Institute of Chemistry 10 years ago, I'm still using whiteboard and board marker. So, and 10 years ago, ang online learning ay widely spread na all over the world. Hindi ko sinasabing na pag-iiwanan tayo. Ang sinasabi ko lang is that how do we bridge the gap so all of us will be part of the AI conversation? If AI would still be the exciting trend in a few years' time. So siguro yun yung para sa akin.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ginsha. Chancellor Mel.
Yeah, okay. I'm really more on the optimistic side of it. AI is here to stay, and I think AI will bring the new era of online learning, specifically for online learning. It will bring a new era of online learning, and this is something that we need to prepare for, not just as teachers, but also our students and our other stakeholders. But at the same time, so we're talking of artificial intelligence. I still believe that human intelligence will still play a big role, hand in hand or alongside with artificial intelligence.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chancellor Mel.
Thank you, Ma'am Mari. And thank you to our resource persons for the very insightful sharing and discussion. My higher order thinking skills was put to work at a faster pace this afternoon and also experience some cognitive offloading. Okay, also our gratitude to our viewers who have been watching the Open Talk series on ChatGPT and AI in general. So before we end the program, we invite all our online viewers to send in their comments and suggestions about the Open Talk episode this afternoon. So you can see on your screen the QR code and the link on how to evaluate the program this afternoon. And also shown on the screen are the names of our viewers last episode, and this lack of viewers will be receiving UPOU souvenir items. Again, thank you very much everyone for joining us in today's episode of Open Talk. Good afternoon.